Well, hi everyone. I'm Andy Asher. I'm editor at BloomerBoomer. Now, the bio of today's guest, you quickly realize this is a person who has not chosen the traditional ladder of life. This baby boomer had an early vision of herself when at 14 she announced to anyone who would listen anyway that she was going to be in charge of something. After college, she launched a company growing Corazon into a multi-million-dollar educational design and development firm. Today, when many others her age are contemplating retirement, Randi Brill released a new book and several related ventures about her insights into business success and hopes of helping others. Her life goes beyond the corporate world. Later in life, she became a mom at 45 with two kids, now 14 and 11. In a moment, we'll talk with Randi Brill, a lifelong entrepreneur, CFO, and mother who at 60 is thriving. Now, this show is part of the Plus 50 Good Life, a project of the BloomerBoomer.com publication, and we have several shows you can subscribe to on YouTube, Facebook, and through BloomerBoomer. And we have other regular shows, our World Festival Tour to include on your bucket list, our healthy green cooking show with Mimi. Check them out. You may walk away with one of those aha moments. We'll be back with Randi Brill, who at 60 wants to share her insights to success with others. Well, our guest is Randi Brill, who at 60 wants to share her insights to success with others. Randi, it's good to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's awesome to be here, Andy. I'm happy to spend time with you guys.
Well, you're an inspiration. From looking at your bio, you've always been one, at least from looking from the outside, on the things that you've done and the dreams that you've had and what you've been able to accomplish. And you're 60 years old. Congratulations. What's that? Was that a big milestone for you?
No. You know, the issue with being 60 is it's young. It's as young as I'm ever going to be. And that comment that's, 60 is the new 40, I don't feel any particular age. I will dye my hair as long as there is hair dye. And I have to tell you, every day's an opportunity to do something new. In the intro, you said I was CFO. I am the Chief Fearless Officer of our companies. And that is what I do. I get out in front and I make things happen with and for the people around me. And I'm excited to start sharing that in a broader way with a lot of people, including your show today.
Well, I think that for our audience, there are transitions taking place for many of us as we contemplate whether to do something different in life. And I think you're a good person to talk to a little bit because you've had some dreams, you've made them come true, and maybe you can give us some insight on what's worked for you.
Absolutely. What works for me consistently is the unbridled belief that I can do what I set my mind to. I was fortunate enough to be raised that way, to believe that whatever you want to do, Randi Brill, you can accomplish, which is probably why I made the comment I made at 14 that, I was going to be in charge of something. Now, if you had asked me, as a follow-up question, and what would that be, dear? I'm not sure I would have had an answer, and I'm not sure that would have prevented me from talking anyway. The key for me, and this is the piece that is so powerful, I don't feel 60, I don't think 60, I don't act 60 because I don't know what that is. But there's a predetermined line in the sand, evidently, that a lot of people experience or a lot of people feel. There's that R word that I don't even utter. And that's not for me. I've always been an entrepreneur, so I've always had those ruby slippers on.
So even at this point, at 60, retirement isn't on your mind.
No, don't say that word to me. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have some awesome friends who have embraced this with every ounce of their being. And they're taking golf lessons and taekwondo and XYZ, and I can't get out of the room fast enough. I love them. I adore them, and it's fabulous for them. I guarantee you I would be expelled from retirement within a week. So it's not for me.
Yourself, it sounds like.
Well, here's the deal. Retire from what? I've run my own companies since I was 25 years of age. So wherever you go, there you are. wherever I am. I'm a creative person. I make things happen. I make things from nothing. I make things into something else. That happens everywhere I go. If I were to retire from earning a living, I would end up doing this in a not-for-profit manner. Also a wonderful thing, but I'd still be doing what I'm doing, which is making things with and for other people.
Well, that's neat. So, 99 Creative Wows, that certainly can apply to any age.
Absolutely.
How might someone, baby boomer or over 50 or someone who's contemplating something, maybe a change of some sort in life, how might they apply those lessons that you wrote about in your book?
Well, let me tell you something about that for a minute. The 99 Creative Wows for business are also the 99 Creative Wows for life, according to Randi. They're my wows. Everybody has their own wows. Those wows, however, I wrote this book with the initial mindset, which shows you what you start out to do and the strategic byproducts of what you think you're doing can evolve into something totally different. I started out for the new entrepreneur. I started out for that student in graduate school, that student who wants to hang out a shingle, that person who leaves one job and wants to open a company for the first time. What I've discovered is that people 50 plus are actually some of my most powerful constituents and readers on that book, because at 50 plus, we're smart enough to know what those things really say and what those things really mean. Because each person at that 40, 50, 60 age bracket has enough street smarts and life savvy to look at an adage like family first always, or know the why, create the what, the rest will follow. Those words, younger audiences might understand. People with a little more life seasoning, as I like to call it, really do get it. So those wows are universal. You get out of them what you put into them. Your life context, your experience, what you're going through, puts the filter and the lens on each one of those wows.
Yeah. And we look at you, who's achieved a lot. No doubt you've hit some bumps along the way. Maybe could you talk about that and how you overcame them?
I'm going to tell you something about Randi and bumps. Andy, I like to hit them a lot of times just to make really sure I've hit them. I mean, it's really, people say, oh, did you learn from your mistakes? Wow, what was all that about? Guess what? I make mistakes every day. I tell my teams, if you're not making creative mistakes, you're not taking enough risk. I would much rather fix something I break than be afraid to try to do something because I'd be afraid I'd risk it. And there have been many mistakes. Some of the mistakes that I made were not listening to my gut when I know I should have. Big one, because I listened sometimes to other people when I should not have, and I should have just been strong enough to say, nope, I'm going to zig even though you tell me we should zag. So those were some profound ones. I had a day where I lost my first $1 million job on the same day I needed to sign a 10-year lease on a property that was 4 sizes too big for us. And I picked up the pen and I signed it because one thing was the project, the other thing was long-term, and I was able to differentiate, but scary, big things. That one wasn't a mistake, but not signing that would have been a huge mistake. I would have never been able to grow the business to fill that space. So, yeah, there are landmines.
And you've already told us about incidents of another way of describing it as failure. And that word, for many of us who grew up in another era, failure was awful. And the great thing about today, especially in the digital world, is failure is an everyday experience in a sense for that industry, I've found. And so they look at it differently. And I suppose you've been able to redefine that in some ways for yourself.
Well, what's interesting to me about my work is I come in contact with many, many people. And there are basically 2 kinds of people. There are people who work much, much harder not to be wrong than to take a risk to be right. And there are people who fail really really loud. I make my living at the Creativity Lab for CoraCore, which is a boutique design agency. That's my day job. And my whole job focuses on the fact that people spend a whole lot of time and energy and a whole lot of money solving the wrong problems in business. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's for a not-for-profit. But very often we put a lot of power behind solving the wrong problem. Now, when you solve the wrong problem badly, when you fail loud, it's okay, actually, because you can't hide that. Everybody knows, oh, that didn't work. We better do over. And that you are correct, Andy. We live in a world today where that's much more acceptable than it ever used to be. However, when you solve the wrong problem beautifully, it takes a lot longer to discover the failure. People are very heavily invested in it. And what I find is it's harder to let go of it. Sometimes when you fail a little bit at a time, it's a much deeper failure than failing loud.
Yeah, that's right. And the 99 Creative Wows, Words of Wisdom, there must be some really, really good tips that you can share that we won't ask you to hit all 99, but maybe you can touch upon some of them.
I have one for you talking about the failure thing, which is called turn fear into fuel. Yeah. And that's one that I think would apply to anyone trying something new. And if you think you're the only one who's afraid, look again. Some people just mask it better. And what I find is if there's something I don't want to do, I do it loud. I do it right away. Because if you say, oh, I have to think about this, oh, I have to get ready, oh, I'm going to do my research, that's all reasons not to act. Those are obstacles you're putting in front of yourself. So one of the other ones that I would say is make a decision. This is one of my favorite wows. Make a decision. If it doesn't work, make another decision. I have I always say to people, I have a whole bag full of decisions over here. If you don't like this one or this one doesn't work, let's try something in navy blue. I'm a creative problem solver. So I just hung up on a call with a client where I said, you know what, you're not going to hurt my feelings. You've got to tell me what you think works and doesn't. Same thing is true with making decisions. Sometimes people think that life is mapped out in a plan for them. You get to make your own plan.
Yeah, that's a great opportunity and a great way to look at it. You get to make out your own plan. And for some people, that in itself is pretty frightening, especially if you haven't done that for your life. But this is an opportunity to do it if you're looking at making some kind of change or transition.
One of the things I think might be happening to some people who get afraid is because they're not used to freedom. They're not used to the freedom to say, wow, I have a choice about what I'm going to do next. I've worked really hard across my career. Listen, I had the choice not to keep working. I keep working. I keep creating companies because there's still work for me to do that feels powerful, that feels meaningful, and that I get excited to get up and do every day. People have to discover what that is for them. Like my friend who takes Taekwondo, that's her next discovery. There is no right answer. Everybody gets to formulate their own. We're very fortunate to live in a place and a time where we do have some choice. Sometimes all you have to do is make it. And guess what? If you make the wrong one, make another one. That's how I see it anyway.
I like that. Now, Randi, I know you're around here and there. You have your book out. I read where you have a podcast or one in the works. Where else can people get hold of you and find out more about some of the things you're up to?
Well, you can always go to the 99 Wows website, which is 99wows.com. You can visit and find me at coracore.com. And you can also check me out as Randi Brill on LinkedIn. Any of those will help you find me. I'm speaking at a lot of exciting venues for young entrepreneurs, for seasoned individuals, mostly in the Midwest right now, but I actually have a couple of things in the East Coast brewing that will be happening probably right after the first of the year. And if you really have a question or an idea or you just want to bat something around, let us know and we'll bring you into the Creativity Lab.
Very exciting. Very well. Listen, I'm going to follow you. I want to learn.
Wonderful. The podcast is going to be coming out in January of 2018 because we want to be there when everyone makes their new resolutions. So you'll be able to find that on iTunes. It'll be the 99 Wows for Business podcast, and you can find us there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, Randi, thanks so much.
Our pleasure. You take care now. Take care,
You
Andy.
too. Our guest, Randi Brill, who at 60 wants to share her insights to success with others. We'll be right back. Well, I hope you liked the show, and I hope you learned a thing or two. The full show will be available on YouTube and at BloomerBoomer, and the audio version will be available on Apple Podcasts. We have other shows coming up with some amazing guests. Please like us on Facebook and visit us at bloomerboomer.com. Until next time, so long.